Ready to start talking about this record. I had been waiting for about 2 years to talk about this, so uh, ask me anything about how we made it, how we finished it, any of the things. If you liked it, that's sick. If you hated it, that's sick. I'm just stoked to talk about how it all went down because there's so many stories and so much to say. So I love you, and I'm stoked. But the transition thing, actually, that was conscious. Hippocampus has done that sort of these flowing albums. Landmark and Bambi were like that. And we all just kind of thought that this one didn't need to be that way. It was all these songs that kind of came from all these different places and they just landed together. I know I've seen a few people talking on Reddit about this ASMR thing. I really don't know what people are talking about, but it might be something about the vocal production, or in like Listerine or something. But yeah, ASMR, I don't know what you mean by that. Honestly, I have no idea. I was not a part of that process at all of figuring out what singles to drop. But Boys was really hard for me. I made so many versions of it, and it was like always I was trying to get something out of it, but I ended up going with the very first version that we did. I love you so much. Yes, it is the same scream. It's actually me screaming, and I used it back in the Happy Children days. I use it all over the place, and sometimes I hide it a little bit more. It's just a good transition noise. But yes, you found it. There's nothing insane about Understand other than that it was a really nice thing to work on, and that I thought it was always one of the best sounding songs, and that also me and Nathan tracking that guitar for that song was something that we talk about all the time. It was like a really beautiful thing. The vocals on Listerine are four doubles of Jake singing into the headphone mic for his phone, which kind of makes it sound like you're inside of his mouth. To be honest, this whole thing was kind of a unique experience, and completely unlike anything I'd ever done before. But I think the biggest thing I learned by the end of it was how to let go and how to leave things be. Zach wrote the chords to Understand, and I'm pretty sure he wrote the chords to Bambi, so I think that's just the chord progression of Zach Sutton's soul. Blewett started out with just this other drum machine loop that was like, and then it started with that, and then Nathan's guitar on top of it, and then we were all just kind of spitballing melodies and vocals, and that one happened in like an hour. It was like so fast. There's not really a track that I don't like, but I think Boys was the one I was most insecure about on my end, because I just felt like I could never get it. There's something that I was wanting out of it that I could never get, but I ended up being very satisfied. But my favorite is Ride or Die. I mean, come on. I love this so much. Mark Gonzalez will always be an influence in anything I do ever. I think that's one of the biggest influences I've ever had in my life, as just, a crazy person doing things. I love when people say stuff like this so much. There's like a review on YouTube, and this dude was just like, I hated this album at first, and now I love it so much. And that is it's such a dream come true to make moments like that happen. But in terms of the kick drum on Semi Pro, it's a crazy thing because that song's sort of like this country groove with this like hard hitting trap kick, and it might sound so jarring because those two worlds aren't usually together, but I think it's cool. I'm saying, dude, I'm with you on this. I was in there. It was in there, and for some people vote. For some reason, people voted against it, and I had to say, okay, I lost this one, but I'm with you. Honestly, I think this is highly unlikely, but maybe one will come back in the future. It would be cool if somehow we could sneak them to you in a little interesting way. We'll see. I would like that. Man, I was just going into that shit with a sword and slicing and dicing. I had a lot of fun with Bluets. Bluets is a fun song. That polarizing one on the record, I think, but that it hits a spot for me. This is 100% a part of the process, and I think any record, any project, there's all these things that you learn and things that you could have done differently and you take into the future. I mean, I'm doing things so differently even now than I did back then, and you'll hear it as time goes on. I honestly don't really know what's getting hype and what's not getting hype, but one thing I really loved was the moment that me and Nathan shared when recording his guitar solo on Understand. It was just, I think me and him grew so much closer just in that experience. It was fucking amazing. Oh, dude, there's so many songs that didn't make the album that I loved so much. It's just part of the process, though. You can't be too attached, and at the end of the day, they get the final say. So, yes. I think the last detail was just us accepting the fact that this wasn't going to come out for a little while after we were done with it. And just knowing that, I mean, the last detail was making the EP, Good Dog, Bad Dream. That was the last detail. Everybody should know this. Those vocals are rough. Doubt is a big part of a creative process, and it happens. But I think that doubt more so just presents an opportunity for victory against it, victory from doubt. And I think that that just gives you strength to move big. Interestingly enough, the original track list ended with Boys, which is more of like a big, grand exit to the record. But within time, we arranged things differently, and it felt nice to have this sort of light end with Understand. So I already got a few questions about this. That drink in Understand is a White Claw can, and it actually happened perfectly on time when Whistler was playing. It like fell off of the cymbal because we made this kit out of trash. And so we just ended up sprinkling it throughout the song. The biggest lesson is that relationships are more important than the music. The relationships are more important than your talent, your skills. Being a good person and loving people and being letting them know that you love them and being a good friend is the most important thing in life. And there's a bunch of great bass moments on this record. I think one of my favorites is the end of Ashtray. There's like this little bass solo. And I also love what Zach did on Ride or Die so much. The last half of Ride or Die, the bass lines, oh, so juice. Honestly, the songs that changed the most, I think, are all the songs that didn't make the record. I think all the songs that ended up making the record of the like 50 that we worked on were the ones that we felt like we got pretty early on. And I think that was a sign that they were good. The coolest part of Bluets is the main guitar. That metallic sound that's going throughout, that's guitar. Nathan played that. That's live tracked guitar. He did some crazy shit with like paper or something and we got this cool sound. But yeah, that's not a synth. It's guitar. That's cool. Man, they've been asking me to do this for a long time, but I will never. Sorry. I don't want to pull back the curtain here, but disagreements aren't really an uncommon thing in Hippocampus. But like I said before, I think all the biggest disagreements happened on songs that didn't make the record. This is one of my favorite parts of the album, is the drums in Too Young to Die. Whistler played a lot of this stuff, and then I actually reamped his drums through guitar pedals, and I was performing the distortion throughout the whole song so that it's sort of this live thing. I cannot even begin to describe the relationship and bond that Jake and I formed working on this record together, and we've made so many things since that I'm excited for everybody to hear. But I love him so much, and it's always amazing to work with him. I gotta say more about this, man. Jake was a huge inspiration to me in this. I've never seen someone with bearing more weight on their shoulders, rising to the occasion day after day, always down to do the work. He's incredible. I feel like that's decided pretty early on. I mean, oddly enough, they don't really give a fuck about that. And they're so good at putting shit together live, it's never really a scary thing because they're so good live. You know, they'll figure it out. Actually, yes, the great Rob Moose, string player, string arranger, Bon Iver, Y Music, tons of shit, Phoebe Bridgers. He did these amazing string arrangements on this song that we didn't use for the record, and maybe you'll hear it. Man, I don't even know that. There was like 5 different titles to this record that I feel like had more of a connection to the music, but all of a sudden one day they told me it was called lp3, and I was like, okay, that's tight. Your call. Like I said, I could talk all day about these drums. One of the other cool things, Listerine, there was just a giant blanket over Whistler and the drum kit and the microphones. He was like in this fortress of blankets, and that's how we got that sort of dead, poofy sound. But I do think the most notable thing we did for the drums throughout the record was we built this whole kit out of trash and like pots and pans, and like that's where the White Claw thing and Understand. So that's all over the record. That's in Boys, Understand, Ride or Die. You know, I don't have pictures of anything. I suck at documenting life in that sense. Unless I'm taking pictures of my daughter, I take a lot of those. But you should DM Whistler like 500 times. I bet if 500 people DM Whistler, he'll send you a picture. He definitely has. My favorite lyric on the album is in Bluets, and Jay goes, "If you wanna try to fuck shit up, goddamn." I don't know, it just hits me and makes me feel like how we felt when we were making it a lot. Conflict always arose when we were heading into a direction that felt unfamiliar. And I think it was always resolved when that fear was acknowledged and when the fear felt heard, it was a lot easier for people to let the unknown in. I mean, I don't know what the future holds. They're gonna go tour this record now, but no matter what, they're like my best friends, so I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be a part of whatever emotional process they're going through, no matter what, free of charge. Here we are again with the ASMR. I don't know what you're talking about. Does it sound like it's really like close to your eardrum? Does it make you feel relaxed? Isaac, my dude. I should do a whole thing about all the super nerd shit about how the mix went down, but I was summing outside of the box with my bus boy. I'm so glad someone asked this. That explosion in Bang Bang is actually just like a recording of someone going like, and then there's 10 distortions, and then we printed that, and then 10 more distortions, and printed that, and then 10 more distortions, and printed that until it became what it was. It was like, most of the songs didn't even have demos. We kind of just went for it. A lot of people think that because I'm a part of Baby Boys that there was a Baby Boys process associated with this record, but they really couldn't have been more different. Baby Boys usually moves really fast, and we're kind of like, don't give a fuck, but probably gave a little bit more of a fuck about this. Okay, I really hope you're okay. Assuming that you're okay because you sent this, and if you are okay, that's kind of sick. Obviously, there's so many inspirations, and I don't know if we all share all these inspirations, but oddly enough, a huge inspiration for me for this record was Mike Dean. And I don't know if all of you know Mike Dean, but you should look him up, and that's kind of funny that he's a part. I probably had the heaviest handed impact on Too Young to Die or Bluets. Probably. No, that's not really my job. It's your job to decide how they compare with the past and analyze it that way. My job was just to make sure we could do the best we could do under the circumstances at hand. This is sick. I love that guitar thing that you're talking about as well. There's this plugin called Vocal Line, and you can use it to align vocal doubles to a main vocal. But I used that. I recorded Nathan playing that like 6 times and then vocal line them together, so they're all like the same. This record sort of happened in 2 parts. There was sort of the first part where we were all together, and then the pandemic hit, so then the second part was everyone remote, and I was really alone a lot of the time. And I mostly really loved the part of being together. I don't know if there's any like hidden samples per se, but there's a little bit of a secret. That little like click 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 in Bang Bang is Nathan clapping the cheeks of his bum. This is a cool one. So Scorpio was made during the lockdown, and people were just sending me stems all day of things to drop in there and try out. And the piano thing was something that Nathan recorded on his iPhone with his parents' piano, and it was like blew my mind. I thought it was really cool. I'll give you a few. There was Love is in the Air, Pickin' Bones, Rarefied, Weekend, No Comment, Harashuku 2. To be honest, I don't know if I work either way necessarily. I mean, I hear shit in my head, but it mostly is when I'm not working. And when I'm working, I feel like I'm just problem solving. It's like something will get my attention, then something else will get my attention, then something else, and I'm like just moving really fast. It's funny because Mojo Jojo was actually gonna be on this record, and it was originally called Blossom or Belgium. I don't know. We threw a bunch of shit around, but yeah, I can't really imagine a world in which it was on this record now. Also, because that song is. This is a cool one. So Scorpio was made during the lockdown, and people were just sending me stems all day of things to drop in there and try out. And the piano thing was something that Nathan recorded on his iPhone with his parents' piano, and it was like blew my mind. I thought it was really cool.